oh, I can't wait till it gets here. You're not going to see it. It's going to be in orbit. It's going to be a tiny dot. Remember how in Strange New Worlds episode 1, the Enterprise is so close to the ground that you can make out surface details on the ship? Presenting the U.S.S. Ben 1, a fully automated starship.
Are we being replaced?
No, don't worry. This one's just a haul garbage. Lower Deck Season 3 is over. At least it's all over but the crying. Am I going to be crying in this review? Who knows? Stay tuned to find out. I know you're not going to click off. I'm also not going to stop reviewing. Let's see what's going on with Lower Deck Season 3, Episode 10. The Stars at Night. The stars at night are shining bright over something, Texas.
The stars at night are dull and dim whenever they have to be over dumb old stupid Texas.
I don't know how the song goes, but it's probably a reference to the Texas class. If you haven't seen episode 9, you better watch it. If you haven't seen episode, 5, 6, 7, 4, Reflections, watch that one too. A better episode than this. All of them important. I would say, if anything, if I may be so bold, this episode is like a master class in how to link together previous episodes to tell a cohesive final act. You see, this is how you should do a season of unrelated episodes that become related at the last moment. In surprising ways, sometimes in dumb ways, sometimes in predictable ways. That's the Stars at Night. I don't have to wait till night to see the stars. They're all around me. This episode this is one that gets worse the more you think about it. I liked it more when I first watched it. I watched it a few more times, and it just breaks down. To repeat something I said last review, which you should watch to prepare yourself for this, because this is essentially episode 9 part 2. I can see the strings. This episode is rife with a need for drama that created mental gymnastics in the writer's room. A lot of these things don't make sense logically, but they make sense if you're trying to make me get excited. Pow, pow. Explosions, bang, bang. That doesn't make the episode. It's thematically weak, but not totally empty. Without spoiling anything, I'll just say that things played out how I feared in some ways, and I was delightfully surprised in others. So without further ado, let's warp right in to the Stars at Night, the last episode of this short season. Back in my day, we had long seasons. I've seen shows where the first season was like 90 episodes. Imagine sitting through all that. Let's get right into it, Our episode, essentially being a part 2 to episode 9, Trusted Sources. We're seeing the aftermath of what happened there, okay? Right off the bat, I had a problem with this episode. I had a problem with this episode in the first, 5 seconds. Which is a record breaker, This episode started by throwing shade at the events of the last episode that I thought went pretty well. I mean, last episode, Operation Swing By, first planet they went to, it was peaceful. Anything peaceful is a success, even if nothing happens. Planet Brekka, they discovered an incursion of Breen. Amazing. 3, they were saved by a new class of ship. That makes for great news. It's a great story. It's great publicity. But what's part 4 of this? Starfleet Command is upset? We're in a round table of admirals, and Freeman's on the back foot. I was totally shocked. I thought they were going to say, you discovered the Breen? Let's look into this. Nobody cared about the Breen. Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry, there's just Breen here after the Dominion War. What's going on here? Why are we immediately jumping into a discussion about putting the Texas class in service, getting rid of the California class, an all or nothing approach? Where did this all or nothing Starfleet come from? Because we want to put the Texas class into service. Buen Amigo, for no reason at all, recommends shelving the entire California class. And Starfleet Command listens to this. I know people take seriously what admirals say, that being Admiral Buen Amigo, but doesn't that seem like it's going off half-cocked? You know, you want to shelve the California class, a new ship, like, what? Shelve the Miranda class and give all the Miranda class missions to the California class. Like, what are you talking about? Why do we have to get rid of this new ship? Does anybody know? Like, why can't we just have the Texas class at the same time? Why is that so difficult? It ought to be cheaper to run them. You don't have to have people on board. AIs, though, not a grand idea. Many times in Star Trek, AIs have proven to be more trouble than they're worth. If we believe Discovery is canon to this timeline, Starfleet had already handed over control of a lot of different operations to a thing called Control. It ended very poorly. What's different now? Why is the Texas class different? The debate over humans, sentient biological organisms, versus complete autonomous control of starships has been a debate for a long time. It's not new. It's not fresh. This has happened since TOS, the debate over computers controlling starships. We all know it's not a good idea. But we're digging up that corpse, animating it around with voodoo magic, and pretending that it's, oh look, we can make this cool thing happen for our final episode of our season. We want to leave on a high note. Let's have them fight AI. We're doing the plot of Discovery Season 2 again. Much better than Discovery Season 2. I'd rather watch this than watch all Discovery Season 2. But the point I'm making is we're doing something that would never happen in the reality of Star Trek for drama purposes. I can smell the gears burning in the fire of the writer's room trying to come up with this. And like I said, the mental gymnastics to make this work. We have to believe that the Admiralty of Starfleet Command would immediately, on the suggestion of one admiral, immediately shelve an entire class of ships, believe it was a good idea to have a totally autonomous ship flying around, and believe, most significantly, that the Breen incursion was not the most significant event of the day. This roundtable discussion should be about how best to send an entire fleet of starships to Brekka to have a discussion with the Breen about what they're doing. A peaceable discussion. That was what this episode should have been. Maybe it'll come back in Season 2, but this entire episode, I'm just terrified of what's going on Brekka. Am I alone? I don't know, but this episode sure made the Admiralty look stupid. Was that their intention? Maybe. It is a comedy, right? And this episode wasn't very funny. There were some things that were quaint, some things that were interesting, and like I always say, some things that made you go, They have a race. This is kind of an interesting idea. The decision is being put down to the winner of a race. Essentially what we're doing is we're speed running a few episodes of Star Trek. Fix this, contact these people, give these people this, investigate that, all that type of thing. Except the Alito, autonomous, or remote controlled, if you will, and the Cerritos. So the Alito and the Cerritos are both racing to see who can do this many Star Trek episodes. Very interesting. Who's going to win? We're tracking the progress. Buen Amigo lights a cigar, like he's Rios from Picard. I believe in Picard, Rios did say eventually that it was like a simulation smoke or something. There was some kind of Starfleet cigar. Is this one the same? I don't know. But it's Buen Amigo and the Alito versus our friends and the Cerritos. Who's going to win? We hit a snag. We get to a planet that may have sentient life on it. Tendi does the right thing and halts the operation and says we need to stop to scan this. Interestingly, Dr. T'Ana is scanning this dirt to make sure it's not sentient, and there's like a sentience detector on this tricorder. Very cool. I wish I had that. Imagine a device that could just scan for sentience. Methinks sentience is a lot more complicated than that. However, they were in error. They did not find any sentient life, and the Alito gets the head start. Perhaps in the next world, there's a tiny... Maybe I'm reading too much into it. A little dig at Strange New Worlds. There's a character on this planet waiting to see the starship. Oh, I can't wait till it gets here. You're not going to see it. It's going to be in orbit. It's going to be a tiny dot. Remember how in Strange New Worlds Episode 1, the Enterprise is so close to the ground that you can make out surface details on the ship? These ships aren't built for atmospheric flight. I know it's happened before, but it's... My mind went there. They said it in this episode. My mind went there. Is that about Strange New Worlds? No, you can't see the ship. It's in orbit. Calm down. And then the Alito goes ahead and beams down supplies they needed. The Alito wins. But the Cerritos did the right thing. They stopped when they thought there might have been sentient life. Number one. Above all else. That's how Freeman thinks she's going to beat the Alito. Aha, you didn't stop to scan this for life. This is when Buen Amigo diverges onto the path of mustache twirling Mr. I'm a bad guy Admiral. I haven't seen this before. Have you seen this before? I mentioned in a previous review, I was hoping he was going to turn out to be a nice guy. You know? I don't want to hate him. I don't want to hate any of these characters. I don't want to hate a ship. I don't want to hate the Alito. Why do we need to do that? We have the Breen. We can fight the Breen. But what happens, happens. And Rutherford notices something, okay? The whole episode, he's been looking at the coding for the Alito. Okay, interesting that this is not on lockdown, but he can access, I guess it's open source. He can view the coding behind the Alito's AI. Hold on, I recognize this code. He's flipping around on his pad. Rutherford programmed it. The bad past Rutherford, watch the episode Reflections, fantastic episode. He was behind the development of the Texas class, namely the Alito. Buen Amigo was the evil admiral who wiped his memories. I didn't see it coming. I don't know. Did you see it coming? I thought we were going to find out that this code was Borg or something, you know? But I was wrong. I thought it was just going to be some other hostile alien force, you know? But it wasn't. It was from within. It came from Rutherford. So this should have been Rutherford's problem to solve. But after that point, he really did nothing. This episode, it needed a Rutherford win to solidify this as Rutherford's season. We didn't get that, sadly. I think that would have improved the episode. But ultimately, Buenamigo, on a dime, just says, you know what? I'm going to say there was an error and you attacked us and we had to defend ourselves and it's your fault. And guess what? None of your friends are going to survive to go back to Starfleet to tell me I'm wrong. I'm an admiral, and it's hard to make a name for yourself when you're an admiral, baby. So I'm just going to kill you. Sounds stupid? You're right. It's stupid. It is. Admiral Buenamigo, bad guy, not so secret anymore, turns on the fully autonomous mode in the Alito and tells them to destroy the Cerritos. Big mistake. This was programmed by old bad Rutherford. The same Rutherford that, programmed Badgie. Remember Badgie from season 1? I kind of like Badgie. An evil holodeck program gone wrong. Yada, yada, yada. You've seen it before. It's old hat at this point. But suffice to say, this is programmed by an idiot. Old Rutherford was an idiot. Can you trust an idiot controlling a Starfleet vessel on autonomous control? No. So we have to stop this shit. It's gone mad. I will burn your heart in a fire. It keeps repeating that. It's equal parts stupid and terrifying. Which is how an AI gone wrong should sound. Right? It's distant. It's not quite alive. Its sentence doesn't make sense. But it's threatening. I will burn your heart in a fire. It has daddy issues, just like Badgie did, and proceeds to kill Admiral Buenamigo. It's always good when a villain gets themselves killed. We don't have to feel bad about killing them. Right, guys? So we hand that one off. We hand off the guilt, the potential guilt of having to kill Buenamigo. And we lay it on the feet of the Alito. The Alito begins, after it destroys the pillar upon which Buenamigo's office was at Space Dock. It proceeds to tear apart Space Dock. No. No. You cannot just start attacking Space Dock. Earth orbit Space Dock. It leaves its berth, summons 2 more Texas class, and they're just laying waste to Space Dock. Excuse me? How can you have a yellow alert in Space Dock? This is probably a red alert. Space Dock doesn't have the most powerful defensive systems that the Federation can muster. Are you serious? What? How smart was old Rutherford to design this ship? Program it, at least. What did they have access to that the rest of the Federation did not? How is the Alito this powerful? How is the Texas class like this? How come there isn't immediately like a Galaxy class right there, instantaneously, just orbiting Earth, ready to do this, ready to defeat whatever is attacking Space Dock? You know, like there should be like 3 Akira class, like on those Texas class ships, obliterating them immediately. I can see the strings. I can see the magician's trick. He told me how he did it. They did it in the writer's room. They said, don't worry about it. The Cerritos is rushing back. Texas class Hot pursuit. They get to eject the warp core. Finally, right? Boimler had made his impression of Shaxx. By the way, he does a fantastic Shaxx impression, to Anna impression, and Ransom impression. Oh, all I want to do is eject the warp core. Well, guess what? He gets his chance. At Warp, they eject the warp core to destroy the Texas-class ships chasing the Cerritos. Can we eject the warp core at Warp? What'll happen? Is that dangerous to follow the warp like that? I know what to do. Maybe it's because I just got the right shirt color. But I have an idea what to do. There has been occasions before where you can fly at Warp without actually using the warp core. How do you do it? Well, you saturate the warp coils, right? See, the warp nacelles will still induce warp without being connected to the warp core for a certain amount of time because of warp plasma saturation in the coils. And the warp field does not degrade it instantly. They eject the warp core and then immediately follow the warp. That's not what you do. You disengage the warp core, eject it, then the cells carry you for a little bit, and then you wind them down, and then you just come out of warp safely. What's so hard about that? This has been done before. Warp flight without a warp core. Momentarily. It's not impossible. But in this episode it is. And they violently followed a warp, destroying the Texas-class ships, save for the Alito, our main villain ship. Who should arrive but Mariner? She was gone, doing her Indiana Jones job with Petra. They've returned with all of the California-class ships in tow. This smacks of Picard, Discovery, all the worst parts of New Star Trek. All the ships magically show up at the same time. In fact, I think that happened in the very first episode of Discovery. Or the second, or the end of the first, I can't remember. Battle at the Binary Stars. Every Klingon ship showed up, and then like a zillion Starfleet ships show up. Immediately. Like space isn't huge. Did you know that space is enormous? Right? You know how hard it is to just have every ship in a certain class? You know how hard it is? Just forget about every ship of a certain class. Just have 50 ships show up that fast. Like, it wasn't 50, but it was quite a few. Immediately. Like that. Just to leave whatever it was they were doing. Warp across ambiguous distances in space. Probably a huge differential in distances between them. You know? Maybe one is this many light years, the other one is this many. Warp 9, whatever's the max speed of the California class, being what it is, you can't stretch that. They're not going to arrive at the same time. Overly indulgent. This episode just indulges in the fantasy that we can have all these ships show up at the same time. One thing you do not want to do in Star Trek is play fast and loose with the distances. That is a ticket. That is a one-way ticket to making the audience not care. Right? They may think they don't care, but they really do. Okay? Space has to be dangerous. It has to be big. It has to be scary. As soon as it's not, the tension is gone, and it might as well just be magic. Okay? That's why the spore drive is an awful idea. That's why. Because it gives the writers a get-out-of-jail-free card. We can do whatever we want now. We can be anywhere at any time. I guess distances don't matter. And therefore there's no tension. This episode smacks of it. I'll say that. All the California-class ships show up and obliterate the Texas-class Alito. We didn't learn anything. You're thinking, wait a minute, what? We just destroyed the ship, what's the problem? Well, there is a problem. Anybody could have done that. defeating the Texas class like that was not unique to the mission capabilities of the California class. Like 15 ships of any class could have probably defeated the Alito. What was unique about that? Was there anything poignant? Was there anything that came from inside? We just used brute force, overwhelming force. We just outnumbered it. That's something an AI could figure out. See what I mean? Ships weren't supposed to win this fight. Ships can be autonomous, proven by the Alito. We were supposed to win this fight. What should have happened was Rutherford should have used his memory of how he wrote that code. Access the memory somehow. Get a mind meld going. Anything. To uncover a secret behind how to defeat the programming of the Alito. That's not what happened. We just ganged up on it and killed it. For what? A big flashy ending where things go boom? It's not that different from the end of Discovery Season 2. It's different. It's a lot better. But it's not that different. Which should scare you. Right? We win the day. We kill Buenamigo. We destroy a perfectly fine ship. The Alito itself did nothing wrong. I hope that the frame of the Alito, the Texas class, shows up in Season 2 and it has a crew on it. Call me sentimental, but I love ships. I tend to humanize physical things, and I don't like to see them get hurt, even if they've done a lot of bad stuff. Hopefully the Texas class comes back, completely changed over, no AI, and we get to play nice with each other. It's sad that we had to say goodbye to Buenamigo. It's sad that the writers thought it was cool to kill him. It wasn't funny. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't memorable. It's just another admiral to throw onto the burning pile of evil admirals. Throw another one on the fire. There's your main plot, but we do have a B plot. Remember Mariner? She was gone for all of 5 minutes. Her character's journey was to exit Starfleet, fly around recovering old artifacts, and then just go back to Starfleet. There you go. We had an episode called Mathematically Perfect Redemption, where our crew had nothing to do with it. Guess what? You could have made that episode 9. Delete Mariner from that plot. It wouldn't change anything, because that episode basically didn't need the Cerritos. Remove Mariner from that episode. Have episode 8 be Trusted Sources. Episode 9 be Mathematically Perfect Redemption. And then episode 10 be like this. That way we would have had time to miss Mariner. Not everyone's going to miss her. Your mileage may vary, of course. But doesn't that make sense? Tell me I'm wrong. No, seriously, go ahead. Please tell me I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. A few little rewrites. How about the Texas class was not stationed at Space Dock? Just station it somewhere else. Somewhere safe, somewhere that makes sense. So that when it starts destroying the station, you don't immediately expect that there would be an entire squadron of Akira class, up its backside. Just a thought. Maybe make it so the ship killed Buenamigo of its own accord, and not after Buenamigo ordered it to attack the Cerritos and to cover everything up. Give Buenamigo an out. Maybe he wasn't evil, Maybe it's just a glitch, and it kills him. Although, that would kind of hurt its ability to tie in with the episode Reflections. This episode, as I said before, does a fantastic job of tying back to old episodes. But what we get is thematically shallow. There is something there, though. Namely with Mariner. Mariner, on her journey with Petra, guys, this could be from any movie or show. Acts of daring do, barely being able to beam away before she's shot, artifact in hand, saving it from Ferengi. That could be in anything. There's nothing unique about that at all. She gets back to the ship. Petra, where are you getting your funding? You think something interesting's happening. But it's just another one of those secrets that our characters keep to add drama for later. You know, how writers like to do it. They like to make characters not act like real people. You know, keeping a secret for just no reason, just to cause confusion. They recover their artifact. Who's funding this? Picard? Apparently. Duh. Like, why wouldn't Petra say this? No, we're totally legit. Picard is funding us. You had to sneak around behind my back and access my personal files to find this out. And then I'm mad at you because I wouldn't reveal that our funding was totally legit. Like, who does that? Like, why would Petra do that? Seeing the strings. No strings on me. Whatever that means. And you would expect Picard to do this. He likes archaeology, you know? Curling Neskars and all that. You kind of think this is what he'd be doing, you know, after the end of TNG, maybe? Not whatever that stuff he was doing in Picard. I don't know. Maybe the Picard show from season one on should have been Picard Indiana Jones, you know? Meets back up with some old archaeology student buddies from Starfleet Academy, and we're just going to legally go recover artifacts that were stolen. Sounds fun. You get a brief glimpse into that what that could have been in this episode, as we see Petra and Mariner stealing back this artifact. But no, Mariner was looking for a reason for this operation to not be legit, so she would have an excuse to go back to Starfleet. Which felt like it was 5 seconds ago. She does roll back in, like nothing happened. She just popped back in like nothing happened. But we know the truth. The captain was mistaken. The piece of journalism from Newsay was colored in a certain way, you could say. It had a certain slant. It had it out for them, and it made Mariner's expulsion a lot worse than it should have been. Without saying everything from that episode, without getting into it, watch my review for the last episode. They hug and they make up at the end. And I must say, Mariner was in top form. This is a good Mariner episode. Mariner was smart. She was industrious. She was brave. And she walked back in to the Cerritos and got her place back, like she deserved. And wound up now requesting to be working beside Ransom. Remember in the first episode of the season, Mariner was forcibly an underdog, like to Ransom. She was shadowing Ransom. Now, Ransom is begrudgingly being forced to look after Mariner, and Mariner now likes it. You see how thematically it reflects that? We've come full circle. That's always a good idea. That's the episode. I will burn your heart in the fire. We burned Admiral Buenamigo in a fire. I'm sorry to say. Great Mariner episode. Rutherford couldn't get the assist. This is supposed to be a Rutherford victory. This is supposed to be a victory for us, not a victory for a bunch of ships ganging up on a new class of ship, the Texas class. Not a good idea. Not just because it's an old idea, the idea that we're fighting AI things, but just because thematically it had no weight to it, as I explained a moment ago. We saw a Sovereign class. Visually, There's a lot to see in this episode. You do see a lot of ships. You see the whole suite of the California class, all with different paint jobs for whatever reason. We see a Sovereign. Space Dock is there in all its glory. Texas class, I thought it was kind of ugly, so you can take it or leave it. All kinds of explosions. And the battle, the Texas class was firing out entire volleys of torpedoes, tearing through the Cerritos. It looked sick when that was happening, I will admit. Musically, an arousing score accompanying the action. It wasn't particularly interesting, but it didn't take me out of it. It was just kind of there. Thematically, not what I was looking for. I was looking for a little bit more. I was looking for the genius of our crew beating the Texas class. We did eject the warp core. It wasn't necessary. But Shaxx really liked doing it. I think there was probably some other way to go to that situation. Shaxx got a win. Shaxx in this episode was funny. You see, sometimes the bridge crew, the senior officers, are funnier than the main characters in what is ostensibly a comedy show. Shaxx was great. He's a fantastic security officer. He's funny, but he's a sensitive man. A great character. And it was great seeing him finally get his win. He was crying. Everyone was cheering for him on the way to engineering to turn that key with Engineer Billups to eject that warp core. Finally, his dream come true. This episode, though, for me, was not a dream come true. This episode burned my heart in a fire. Unfortunately, it's a little bit worse than a 5. It's a little bit worse than a take it or leave it. This is a weak season finale. Not that we need these big bombastic season finale episodes. Sometimes a season, back in the day, could just end. I miss those days. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go ahead and give this one a 4.5. Could have been more. Thematically weak, visually strong, musically flatline, musically just middling, like take it or leave it. You know? It's only got the visual pillar to stand on. Sorry to say. Could have been a lot better. You know how we do things around here. When I end a season, I like to break the mold a little bit and talk directly to you. Okay? Thanks for hanging around for this entire season. After I finish this episode, I like to do this thing where I look at the past seasons and I look at the episodes, and you should try this. Only allow yourself to say yes or no. This is the yes or no game. This is a great way to find out which season is better. Open up your streaming platform of choice or whatever it is, Wikipedia, whatever, anything that has the episode list. Go down the list of episodes, the first one to the last one of each season, and either say yes or no. You can't say maybe. You say yes or no. And you have to get the answer fast. Do you rescue that episode or delete it forever? Yes or no, right? I did this with the first 3 seasons. 1 is mostly no. 2 is mostly yeses. And 3 is like half and half down the middle. So just based on the yes or no game, unfortunately, I have to say this season is not as good as season 2. I rather season 2. This episode had reflections, which was fantastic. Definitely the high point of the season. Finale could have been a lot worse, I will say. It destroys Discovery. Season 2, which I got vibes. I got season 2 Discovery vibes from this episode. Not a good thing, but it's a lot better than that. On another note, I did see Prodigy, the newest episode that came out. I consider a previous season of television to be a prior commitment. Okay, so I had to get this out of the way first, right? The Prodigy, season 1, episode 11, whatever it is, the new episode of Prodigy. That review will be coming soon. Like I said, this is a previous commitment, not just to me watching the show, but to also reviewing it. So thanks a lot, everyone who was watching. Like I said before, at the end of a season, I break the mold a little bit in my final review for a season. Since Lower Decks is going away for a while, I'll say it now. I rarely say it. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this long. I hope to see you in the comments. And I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm about to warp on out of here. So I'll see you when next time I see you. So long.